Hi guys, so I had made a prom dress a couple of weeks ago just for a girl, and I'm just going to go through, I filmed some of the steps and I'm just going to go through kind of explain what I did. It's not really a tutorial, but I hope it's helpful for anyone who's aspiring to learn how to make fancy dresses. So what I do to start is I drape the fabric over the person and I'll pin it in a couple of places, and then I'll, just smooth my hand over to make some darts. And I make a sloper that way. And once I have the sloper, I will draft the initial pattern. I will make that once more just using muslin, and then we'll do another fitting just to make sure the darts are right. And then from that muslin, once everything's right, I just cut along like all the seams, all the darts, so I can trace it onto paper. And then once I trace it onto paper, obviously I can cut it out on the fabric. I would have loved to cut this dress on a bias, but while there was enough fabric to do the satiny part on the bias, the chiffon layer, the chiffon just wasn't wide enough to do it on the bias. So, which is a shame. It would have been, prettier. So anyway, I'm just, cutting my pattern pieces out. So yeah, here I am. I cut along the seams, and then I lay out the fabric. I trace the shape, and I laid out the front pattern there just so I can make sure the side seams line up. And again, doing the same thing, just making sure the pattern works, and then cutting things out. And I always cut my darts out of the pattern pieces, but I never cut it out of the fabric because I need to mark things off. Okay, what I'm doing here, I'm just adding some interfacing to iron onto actually the lining, just to give it a bit of structure so that when the dress is completed, it'll be a bit heavy. I don't want the lining to roll out and kind of show from the, I don't want it to roll out and so the lining shows, if that makes sense. So I'm just adding interfacing along the top where they're going to be joined. And then I'm sewing some darts in here. Yeah, my lining pieces are the same pattern as the rest of the dress. It's just that they're obviously a cheaper fabric or a different fabric. So I'm sewing the darts in, and then after I do that, I'm going to join the front pieces, and then I'm going to join the side pieces to the front pieces, and then I'm going to join the back piece, or the back two pieces, and I'm going to leave a little gap at the top for the zipper. And of course, press everything open. Okay, so I'm just, cutting out some more pattern pieces. I always, cut it one layer at a time. I don't like folding it over because I like to see on each piece where everything is marked off. So same thing now with the satin is I'm just going to sew the darts in, and then I'm going to join the side piece to the front piece, but I'm not going to join the front seam and I'm not going to join the back seam because there's going to be a chiffon overlay with some gathers, and that needs to go in there. Okay, now I'm just ironing everything. It's so important when you're sewing just to have a hot iron ready all the time. It's seriously stopping and ironing makes your finish so much better. And I'm just joining some paper to make a pattern piece. Now this is going to be the chiffon, and I want the chiffon to be one piece, so I joined the front and the side pattern at the side and then taped it up. And you see it's going to be longer in the front here. It's because it's got some kind of gathery, drapey thing going on. Now I want to stretch this out because I need to put gathers, so it's going to be gathered in, so it needs fabric to do that. So I'm just, making the pattern longer, just stretching it out, and then I'm cutting everything out. And that's my pattern. It kind of looks like a giraffe to me. Now I'm actually laying the chiffon over the pattern piece instead of the pattern piece over the chiffon, just because chiffon is so finicky. And then I'm going around and I'm pinning the entire thing. Just again, chiffon is, shifty, so you want to hold it in place. Now I'm taking the pins out. Oh no, putting more pins in. And cutting it out. And then I'm just putting some pins here just to mark mark where the gathers will end. Then I'm going to sew up what will be the front seam just with a basting stitch and gather it tightly. And then I'm pinning it to the front seam of the satin. And then I'm just going to sew the two together. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the other piece, and then unfortunately, just because a dress takes so many hours to make, I didn't get to film all of it, but while I wasn't filming, I did finish the gathers, and then I sewed the front seam together and then the back seam together. So what I'm doing here, I'm kind of fiddling with now the kind of gathers, the pleats on the side of the dress, because it's a bit harder to get those because you've got to worry about drape and stuff. So what I did was I had actually the girl put the dress on, and then me and her mom pinned around how we wanted it to drape. And I'm just kind of adjusting that a bit and then sewing it on. And once it's sewn on, I trim off the extra chiffon. Ta-da! Okay, now I am pinning the lining in. The lining, again, exact same pattern as the rest of the dress. And I'm sewing it with right sides together, and I'm sewing along the front and then down through the scoop back. And then I'll flip it the right way around, and that'll be what it is. I'm just trimming off some the extra fabric there so that when I turn it, it'll be nice. I also did like some top stitching just on the inside, just on the lining side, so it's not going to be visible at all from the outside, the chiffon satin side. It's just only on the inside lining side. And again, that's to keep the lining from being pulled out or from rolling out under the weight of the rest of the dress. Okay, now I'm turning the points of the, what do you call it? Here I'm opening up the back seam of the dress because of the chiffon layer, because the girl was really, really slim, and you know, my way it's always to do it A-line, it's to do it really, really full, and she didn't want that, so I had to take it in a bit. Okay, I think I'm still fiddling with the back seam here. At some point I'm going to sew a zipper in, I believe. Okay, what I'm doing here, I'm sewing actually the hem. I'm just rolled it over, and I'm just doing like a basting stitch type thing. And then I'll finish the hem by hand. Okay, now I'm putting the zipper foot in, and I'm sewing the zipper into the back. I'm sewing it to the chiffon and satin layers first, and then I'm going to flip it inside out, and then I'm going to sew it again to the lining, so that it's kind of like an invisible zipper. Now I'm just ironing everything. It's not so much that the fabric is kind of wrinkly, it's more just to hold the seams in place, make sure everything's pressed in the right place. Okay, now I believe I'm hemming the inside, maybe? Okay, no, I'm hemming the inside here. I'm just, you know, hanging it up, let it drape for a while, and then cut the fabric, and that's the hardest part for me. I did finish this dress by hand, and I didn't film any of that. It was done, like, on the train and at work, and, yeah. So I just do a hand-rolled hem. And I also sewed on a row of crystals. The crystals were gorgeous. They were super expensive though, but it really gave it a nice finish. And here's the picture. She's so gorgeous. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video and could kind of make sense of it. I hope to do more sewing tutorials in the future. Thanks for watching.